Good morning, everyone. The process of getting everything set up and shared. Fun times. Let's go back to the title card. We'll give folks a few minutes, see how many we got. Mr. Huggy, OTC, Bob Hurd, good to see you. Let's get rid of that. Goliath Fish. Hey, Will Woodgate, the man behind the map. That's good that you're on, buddy. Geraldo, Mike Uber, good to see you guys. We'll get started officially in just a minute or so. Oh, yeah, no audio. Let's fix that. Yeah, I got audio. Okay, good. Maybe you have to unmute. Kima, Texas, currently in Cabo. All right. James, you scared me. I thought I didn't have any audio. Got to be able to hear me. Go back to sharing ye old screen. And the title card. Whoop. There we go. And like I said, we'll give it just a minute and then we'll get started. Lots to go over. Just got back last night. Man, that was something else. 9:01 a.m. We'll start at 9:02. How about that? See if we got any email here. I like this, by the way. It's neat because it's very informal. We got you folks over on the YouTube, which are some of the same folks over on our Discord. All right. And some of those same folks, of course, most of them will be our patrons on Patreon. And then I can look at Twitter as well. And it's just neat. This is a really good idea. I'm glad that our good friend and colleague Matt suggested that I do it. So let's officially start this off with a good morning. Good morning to you all. Mark Sudduth here. Monday, the last day of September. You know, that Green Day song is the official title When September Ends, or is it just September? I don't know. We just all know the lyrics, right? Or at least that one line. Um, so at the beginning of September, we weren't real sure how things were going to end up because we were still in this kind of dead period, and everybody was questioning, including me, the validity of this year's seasonal forecasts, and thought, man, a big mistake has been made. We didn't see something, and certainly that has changed. And well, while we missed a lot of activity there for a few weeks, and that'll deduct from the seasonal totals, the idea that the Atlantic would produce a lot of activity, and we're seeing that because it is not over. We got a ways to go, and major impacts was certainly valid. So the reasons were still there. We just had this funky period. It's kind of like a sports analogy, and I always try to be careful with these because I don't want to ever portray this as being some kind of a game that we don't take it seriously, but we want people to be able to relate to what they know. It's kind of like a team is expected to win a championship game or something, football, basketball, a World Series finale game, the last game, game seven, whatever. And they're expected to win handily. All right. Let's just take college basketball coming up a couple months from now to be in full swing, my favorite. And Team X is supposed to beat Team Y. 18 points is the prediction, whatever. And they kind of come out strong, and then the other team catches up, and everybody's like, "Oh, this could be interesting for the number one seed." But the number one seed still ends up winning by 3 or 4, kind of squeaks by. That's kind of like what this is, that The foundations were still there, the very warm water temperatures relative to average, the very favorable environment, and bam, we got Helene. So that's what we will start off with here. Now, why do I have two YouTubes up? Oh, I know. Again, I like the informalness of this. I have two YouTubes up because, well, tabs. Because thank you, by the way, we crossed the 50,000 mark, 50,000 and a half, and it's just tremendous. I know that other folks that are probably weren't even around when YouTube was invented have surpassed way more than this over the years. I don't understand the algorithm. I really don't. I just do what I do. Don't worry about the numbers so much. We have a great crowd of people that support our work. But I was thinking about it, and we're about 10%, obviously, of a 500,000. And I was streaming the other day, coming back as we were picking stuff up, and I kind of made a decree that if we can get our subscriber count to a 500,000, just 500,000, as soon as possible, that during these events, we will have a way where we can take our dashboard of all the cameras and at least stream that in its entirety. The Patreon is there because I have to support the project and my family. I also enjoy it very much. We've developed a big relationship with a lot of people because of it. So it has utility outside of a fundraising platform, surely. I mean, of course it does. And I would never do away with it. But if I won the lottery, even just the part where you win $1 million and I pay off my house or whatever, I could take everything and just make it free on YouTube because at the end of the day, I want to be able to affect people. It's not about my popularity or some ego boost. It's, oh, look, we are affecting people. And I get emails about how my work has helped our team's work. I'm being more sensitive to that too, by the way. It's not just about me. And this really proved it again, this effort that everybody put in to help us get here. So yeah, we get to 500,000 subscribers. We can at least probably just use Zoom like I'm doing here. I'd work on it with my back end team, and just broadcast a dashboard that has all the cameras on it. They're not going to be very big, but at least they will be there because I don't want to have to, quote, force people to sign up, but I have to, or I can't fund this. It is extremely expensive, and this is my job. And so between that and Fox Weather, which I'm obviously very grateful for, tremendous effort by them, and occasional partnerships like the one we have with QuickDam, those all help. And this becomes my job. And we can do other things. Winter storms, love the winter storms. Lake effect snow, desert southwest monsoon. Didn't get to go out there this year. That was a bummer. Yet, we'll see. It's pretty much over. The atmospheric rivers in California, severe weather, and then, of course, the hail project. And hail is such a fascinating thing. And we're able to do all of this now. So, yeah, we get to, 500,000 subs, and that will start to change the revenue. It will, and be able to say, okay, we can do more for free, if you will, where there is no gatekeeping, but still have our Patreon and all the wonderful things with that, like the interactive map over here, which Will Woodgate made, and he is a patron. See, that's what I'm talking about. It all ends, up being connected. So anyway, thank you. It's a long way of saying thank you for getting us here. And again, it's not, oh, I have 50,000 subscribers. It's more of, all right, we're affecting more people. And that is what the bottom line is. It really is. It's just tremendous. So sorry about the long way to get there, but thank you very much. 50,000 and counting. Let's get to 500,000 as quickly as possible. And we'll start doing more and more because we can, because that'll help us enable, and in fact, we can start helping to pay the back end team and not just take them out to dinner. People that know, they know. So what's happening in the tropics now that that's all behind us? A lot. Look at that. I mean, it just was delayed a little bit. This really doesn't bother me too much yet. We'll talk about that. There's Joyce on its way out. This is on its way in. That one right there, ladies and gentlemen, TD12 is going to be a big ace producer. And I know that everybody's, oh, it's a fish storm, whatever. I get it. But it is going to be a large, powerful, and very photogenic hurricane out over the open Atlantic. And meteorologically speaking, it's going to boost that ACE score big time. The accumulated cyclone energy, this will probably develop as well. We have Isaac up here on its way out, way up there in the high latitudes. So we're going to have a lot of activity. In fact, this is what it looks like. Speaking of the interactive map, let's move me out of the way there. Let's turn on the forecast. Sorry, I guess I got to zoom out. That would help, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. Will's like, use the whole map, Mark. That's what it looks like on our interactive map. All these different systems down here. Yep. And then this one up here was really surprising as it moved on in the high latitudes there. And eventually it's going to make its way all the way up to the far northeast Atlantic Ocean. All right. So what else do we got? There's the Hurricane Center homepage. Yeah, let's talk about this, and I'm going to address this more in my afternoon update where everything's more concise. This is the prep work. And by the way, that's what I figured this video could be each morning that I do it. Show you how I do my prep. What am I looking at? What am I going to put together later? And it might make me be able to put together a faster video update later, where everything's more compact without leaving anything important out. Anyway, this is the flood map from the National Weather Service, flood gauges and so forth. The terrible impacts in western North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, parts of Georgia. And, what's not shown on here are all the power outages. This is just addressing flooding, but a major impact for sure. But we do have some flooding that's going to be happening now and in the coming days. As an example, the Congaree River there in Columbia, peaking now, 126 feet, major flood stage. We got other rivers doing the same. Just incredible amounts of water coming down out of these watersheds up in the mountains, the Appalachians. Let's get this telestrator going if we can. So all that water has to come down out of here and flow through these basins. Some of these lakes are going to fill up, and then eventually all this mess is going to empty out into the Atlantic. Santee River near Jamestown, this is going to spike as well. It's going to take several days. Will be interesting to see what any impacts are to Georgetown. I haven't seen any stuff pop up here. I'll talk to my friends at the National Weather Service, Wilmington. I think this is in their CWA. But yeah, the flooding and everything that happened up here, just terrible. And I want to address that just for a minute. I'm going to stop the screen share for a sec. So if you go back and look at my videos, I will pat myself on the back a little bit here. Starting last week, even when I was doing this stuff Monday, it was very, very concerning what we were seeing. And I addressed the inland flood threat because we saw it coming in the guidance. The Weather Prediction Center were showing the moderate to high risk threat. It was all out there. But then what are people supposed to do with that? I think that is the question. Okay, I'm in a high risk of flooding for Thursday and Friday or whatever the case may be. Now what do I do? Do you just pack up if you live in Asheville, Spruce Pine, Bakersville, all these other places that flooded, Chimney Rock, on and on, and do you just proactively and preemptively go ahead and say I'm in a high risk and I leave? We don't do that for tornadoes when we get a high risk of severe weather. Some communities will shut stuff down, schools get out early, but people don't hide in their storm shelters or in an interior room all day during that high risk, right? They wait until the severe weather is upon them, and then they look at their smartphone, maybe radar scope or whatever it is, and they take the necessary action then. And that's much shorter fuse, obviously, but the flood risk is different because when you see it, it's too late. At least with the tornado threat, oh, there's a tornado warning for my county. Maybe I can see it. It's coming in my neighborhood, in my community. I'm going to get in my storm shelter or in my safe area of my house. And, people can survive that most times. The flooding, though, it's so invisible until it happens. Even if it's raining cats and dogs, it takes time for those rivers to catch that water and rise up, and then it just happens faster than people can react. So I don't know what the solution is. I really don't. Not that I've had days and days and weeks to kind of formulate any kind of a plan, but there's nothing obvious. And you cannot just take all of Asheville and evacuate them when you don't have specific guidance beyond, oh, it's going to be heavy rain and there's a high risk of flash flooding. And then the other part of this, and a debate for another time in more detail, it is definitely my opinion that the Saffir-Simpson scale is outdated and not necessarily relevant. And I know there will be pushback from some because what it should be is just much simpler. We as humans need, for whatever reason, to categorize and label everything. Every single thing is labeled, scheduled, and categorized. It just makes life simpler. I get it. I'm not besmirching it, okay? A Category 3 hurricane means what to most people? Wind, right? Category 3, that must be, we hear major hurricane. A Category 1 hurricane doesn't sound as bad because it's on the low end of the scale. Guess what was a Category 1 hurricane that up until Helene, and I don't know any official numbers, but I'm guessing Helene will be our most expensive hurricane in history. Guess what the most expensive and one of the deadliest hurricanes was in North Carolina history? It was Florence in 2018, and it made landfall as a Category 1. But it had a storm surge of around 11 feet in New Bern, as an example. And it created catastrophic flooding. But the wind was 80, 90 miles an hour at best, right? And lots of power outages and all that stuff, sure. But that was a Category 1, okay? Ike, 2008, a Category 2. Right at the end, upper end there, 110 miles per hour landfall, produced a storm surge of over 20 feet. Catastrophic. Lives lost. Parts of Bolivar Peninsula swept clean. And I could go on and on. Katrina, wind-wise, was downgraded to a 3 at landfall, and it had a 28-foot surge. That disconnect is insane, and it needs to change to a much simpler, in my opinion, a hurricane impact scale, HIS, based on surge, wind, inland flooding, and the tornado/severe weather risk. So SWIFTs with an S. Surge, wind, inland flooding, and tornado/severe weather, SWIFTs. And, or just make it SWIFT, whatever. But even that's too complicated. Just hurricane impact scale. And you have two versions. The hurricane impact scale at the coast, whatever the number is, based on the worst of the threats. If the storm surge is forecast because of the wind field to be 15 to 20 feet, then it is a 5. You understand? The Saffir-Simpson scale was invented by meteorologists and engineers as a damage potential scale. It is not working now. And people look at those numbers and they make their decision based on those. And the expression, I will die on that hill, it needs to change. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any power to do that. I can certainly go to conferences and insert my opinion, but there you go. So there's my commentary for today. We are underserved by the current Saffir-Simpson scale. And what happened in Western North Carolina and the big surge? I mean, the 4, certainly, but there's already people complaining that, oh, I didn't see any wind speeds above 100 miles an hour down here. How is that a 4? Well, you're looking at the Saffir-Simpson scale. The surge that completely erased parts of the Florida coast down there, the humanity part of it, human imprint. Yeah, that was a 4 and a 5, right? 15 to 20 feet, catastrophic. That's a 4 or a 5 in my book. Anyway, let's move on. All right. Let's go back real quick. National Hurricane Center. This guy right here. Uh, it's coming down, luckily, from 50%. Now it's down to 40. I like this. At the end of the update there, it says the timetable for potential development has shifted later toward late week or this weekend. And this is going to be a complicated setup. Some energy's coming through, and I'll discuss this more in my afternoon update when we get a look at the latest models and so forth. But we got to watch this. It could get in here and energy is going to fester around, and rain is an impact. And if it brings a lot of rain to Florida or wherever, we have to watch that. It's not always about your categories and whatever. All right. I already covered this. I looked at the track map. Oh, I know what I wanted to show you. So let's get to the what we did in Helene real quick here. We had cameras in the Tampa area. That is terrible. Let's get a thicker stroke line, as they call it. There we go. We had cameras in the Tampa area, several cameras in Cedar Key, one camera up here in Steinhatchee, Crystal River, which is like down here somewhere. And then we had several cameras up here in St. Mark's, and then did not have anything in Horseshoe Beach or Keaton Beach. Just didn't have time, and I knew it was going to be dark, and we focused our efforts in areas where we knew we could deal with the terrain and the local conditions and working with local officials. And I think the evidence of how we worked is just incredible. This is what it looked like in Tampa early in the day on Thursday. And if we, this is the Bay Shore, and there's Tampa Bay out there. And if we just move this forward several hours, this is 6 p.m. Yeah, there came the surge, and we move it a few more hours into the future. And come on, up and up and up the water came. Probably got into some of these really nice homes over here, I would assume. And a few more hours into the future, into the event. And there you go. So very impactful for sure in Tampa. You see what's happening down with some of the surge there along the immediate coast where the Gulf is, Treasure Island, and points south and west from there. Just wow. So the power of storm surge once again. And by the way, needless to say, if we ever get one with the size and intensity and the wind field of Helene that comes up and makes a turn like that, probably even a little bit more north, and you drive that core right into Tampa Bay, that is a national catastrophe that we have never, we won't be prepared. It'll be Hollywood bad, you name it. And again, if you drive it right in like this, your worst surge is going to be down here. It's that landfall just north of Clearwater where you take that eye wall and just shove everything into the area. That's our big nightmare. And we got lucky. I mean, as bad as it was that it made landfall up here, and for our friends in the Big Bend, it's terrible. But Tampa spared yet again. I mean, how many times are we going to see that? Interesting stuff. A few highlights over here. What did I want to show you? This is kind of neat. Really appreciate our friends at the National Guard that show up to help, the men and women that do this. Let me turn my speaker down there. And we've met these folks over the years, and just tremendous. They got to leave their homes, their families, and they come out. This is down in St. Mark's, our camera. Just remarkable quality video from these cameras that we've got now. We've got some new cameras we're testing, and they did quite well. Few feet of flooding down there in St. Mark's. They got really lucky there. Let me go back to my map. Had Helene made landfall over here near Alligator Point in vicinity and driven that surge up into the actual tip and the apex area, the top of the Appalachia Bay, I think we could have had surge on the outskirts of Tallahassee. I mean, again, such a close call. We talk about Tampa, got off lucky, as bad as it is. Tallahassee, you guys up here, whoo, you have no idea how close you came to just massive power outage and tree damage and whatnot. Just wow. A couple other things I want to show you. This is the some really remarkable drone video Let's see if I can get this to go full screen. I can. So this is down at Cedar Key, underneath one of the condo buildings there. Really neat what you can do with drones to just kind of show the impact in a very intimate setting. Always being careful not to objectify disaster and weather, but this shows you the power of water. It helps to put a wow factor to it beyond just eye candy. It is, hey, look, this is why we have to prepare for these. And so that's important to get this kind of perspective. The power of water, absolutely incredible. That is the Hurricane Sentinel from the University of Florida. Good friend of mine, Dr. Ryan Mears from UNC Wilmington, where I went to college, helped to set that up. This is in Steinhatchee, tremendous damage along the Steinhatchee River and flooding spreading out to the left and to the right, but mostly to the left in Steinhatchee. Wonderful fishing village, city, town, tremendous people. We met some down there, just incredible folks. And that's where we had the camera, by the way. And that is pieces of uh, floating dock that came up and crashed into this pier and gazebo deal. Our camera was like right there. It's already been picked up at this point. CJ and I went and got it. But that's what we were looking at in the video that looked like a whale had washed up because of the barnacles on the bottom. Matt kept telling me, it looks like a whale. What is that? So there's our shot there, some drone video for you. And then one more. Let's do a real quick time lapse for you. This is the exterior camera from the Low Key Hideaway. Really appreciate the owner working with us once again. Met him last year because of Adalia. Surge comes in. This was live the entire time, never faltered. Went underwater. How does it stream underwater? Have no idea. Verizon, that's the reason. And we built a really good case and did some extra things, which we will obviously keep secret because it's starting to get competitive out there. So we got to have some kind of an edge, right? But it worked. The camera survived, not a drop of water inside, and the Verizon network really kicked butt there. Let's look at it again. Water came up about 6 feet, maybe higher than that, because it did go over the camera, and the camera was at 6 feet, like 6 feet 6 inches, and it went underwater. There it is, streaming live underwater. Pretty remarkable, if I may say so myself. All right, let's kill that tab. Look at the tropics again real quick, and I'll address this more later today. These are going to be two long-lived, strong hurricanes boosting that A score, upper level low rotating its way through the Caribbean there. Some energy over in the Western Caribbean. Again, as the Hurricane Center outlined this area and outlooked, not too conducive right now, so we don't have to worry about anything too problematic over the coming days. But we will watch because it is still very much hurricane season, and we have quite a ways to go. We got to get through October and November, and I do really worry about the Caribbean down here, especially in November. And you never know, you get one of those ones that sneaks in and comes into the Gulf. I don't know. I mean, it's just been a weird year. We can't write anything off. Helene kind of proved that. Hey, there's definitely some problems with Tropical Tidbits and the Weather Nerd site that the satellite imagery is just not updating. It's a real bummer, something on the upstream side or whatever. But I just thought I'd point that out. It's not their fault. Levi and what's the guy's name? Is it Mike or something? I can't remember. Underline. I can't. I'm embarrassed now. The guy that runs Weather Nerds. It's not their fault. It's just something wrong with the data provider, whatever. That being said, though, at least the INCEP stuff's coming in. Sorry, getting sidetracked here. So real quick look at the GFS from the 6Z run. See what I mean? Just not much to worry about. And, you can pick operational models and see what you want to see. But the ensembles help to tell the story, and we really just don't see much in this area to hang our hats on, which is fine by all of us. All right, let's get back over to this. Stop the screen share for a sec. And let me at least pop up the YouTube. Start over here. Any questions from you guys? Comments? I know there's a lag from when I ask and the way the Zoom sends this out. Um, so we'll look at Gareth Ross, one of our supporters. I don't know if it's a sign of things to come, but Central Europe is getting flooding. In the UK and the UK, parts of it has seen many months worth of rain in a week. Yep. Um, who knows? I mean, it looks like the outlook for the temperatures in the US is going to be really warm, especially out west. Pretty hot October coming up, it seems. Helene will top all hurricanes for damage. Oh, maybe. We'll see. I mean, Harvey, you know, flooded a lot of homes, certainly Katrina, but Helene will definitely be up there in the top five, if not the top three. And I think that Helene is a shoe-in, of course, to be retired. Yeah, Matt. Thank you, Matt, like Underland or something like that. Thank you, KP1. I appreciate that. And we appreciate the Weather Nerd site. Has the Bermuda Azores High been a big bluff this season, or is it too early to say Caribbean impact wise? Yeah, that's hard to tell. That it's got that fracture out there because all this new stuff's going to curve, in the middle of the Atlantic, it looks like. Really, really hard to predict these trough ridge patterns months in advance. Clearly, what looked like a lock to have a lot of activity coming to the west, not so much anymore. All right, Sonny Soprano. I like that. I like that. I do that a lot too with what do they call that when you it's not an anagram, but Tony Soprano and you have Sony Soprano. I like that. And thank you. Thank you for the super chat, the tip. I got a lot of tolls coming from the Florida Turnpike Authority, so that'll help, believe me. And it's Kari. Yeah, oh yeah, the little like button there. I gotta learn from some of the 400 million subscriber YouTube guys. What's the secret, right? It's just hard. It's hard to beg people to like and subscribe. It's just weird. I figured, they'll do it, but I maybe got to remind them. So thanks, Spooky. Hey, our man, Geek G Howard. Good to see you on here. Let's go over to the Discord and see what people are asking or talking about there. Hey, thank you, Julia L. Julia was very active on our Discord. And by the way, the Discord is connected to our Patreon. And again, one of those things, you know what? I guess, we get to that 500,000 mark and we can come up with a way to get, this would be scary, I'm sure, but more people in on Discord without there having to be and I know Howard's going to go, no, but anyway, we'll see. The Discord is great because it's not gigantic. I think there's Discord servers with like tens of thousands of members, aren't there? Probably, especially in the gaming world. But anyway, Julia, very active. Karen, we appreciate all of y'all's input, especially during the hurricane. But yeah, there's our Discord server. We got all kinds of cool stuff. Our back end team can chat here. We even have our YouTube chat built in. Lots of coding and work done by our man in Orlando, Mr. Mike, Mr. Cornelius. A couple more comments from you guys, and then I will roll things up. And getting a text from my daughter wants me to bring her some lunch. Have to see what I can do. When was the last hurricane that caused this much damage far inland as Helene did? Great question. Wow. Ivan, maybe. 2004? That was very damaging far inland. That would be my first guess, right off the top of my head. Will full-blown La Nina kick in before 2025? Yes, it's coming. And I will look at that in today's update, the Hurricane Outlook video later. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks from Sydney, Australia down there, Rebecca. It is just heartbreaking what's happening with people. My parents used to live in Spruce Pine, between Spruce Pine and Bakersville. I'll show you back over on the map real quick and we'll wrap this up shortly. A little personal stuff for you. So my parents lived up here. They moved up here in 1994, I think it was. Spruce Pine, there it is, in a little community outside of Spruce Pine, real close to Penland. Let's back this out. So there's Penland. Penland has got a good craft school up there, and there's Ledger. And then my mom and dad lived like right in here. And then Bakersville is up here. You've got Cane Creek, comes out of Roan Mountain, and then the Tow River that comes through goes through Spruce Pine, and all of these areas that are near water flooded, devastated. Unfortunately, both of my parents died within the last couple of years, And it's one of those moments where, you know, how you see people say, oh, it's a good thing your father's not around to see this or whatever. And you usually hear that in movies, right? It's a very dramatic thing to say. They didn't live there. After 2018, they moved to New Bern, just up the road from me. And freaking hurricanes came after them there too. Florence, I had to get them to evacuate for that. But it's one of those times, like, even if they were still with us, I think that this would have just been crushing. It really would have, because they spent almost 30 years up there, whatever it was. My mother was a famous basket maker, worked in conjunction with the folks at the Penland School. My dad doing photography of the mountains and everything, and it just would have been just emotionally crushing for them to witness this in person. But yeah, you know, these are the areas, all these regions up here, little small communities, and they're just cut off. I hadn't heard anything about Linville Falls or the Gorge. I would have to assume that Linville Falls was just, I mean, it must have rearranged it. I'll have to get up with Brad Panovich, tag him on the Twitter there to find out what's up with Linville Falls. All right, well, let me go because I got a lot to do. I appreciate you tuning in. And again, thanks for getting us to 50,000 subscribers. I don't know how fast we can get to 100,000, but let's make that happen. Again, it's for the affecting people, affecting with an A, not my ego. That's, you know, it's neat to have that kind of support. Yeah, but whatever. You know, if there was two people watching, it'd just be the coolest thing ever. And the fact that it's thousands, it just makes it more worth it, I guess. So thanks for getting us here. And that'll just about do it for this session. Let me see how I can get out of here. Oh, yeah, I got to share my screen again so I can get to the title card. I forgot. I'll get used to this. There we are. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate it. I am Mark Sudduth. I'll see you later this afternoon with a much more concise, and actually, again, I will probably be able to start doing those videos much faster and more compact and use this as the discussion part. So thank you. This is a great idea from Matt. So anyway, have a good rest of your morning. I'll see you back later today for the hurricane outlook and discussion.